Welcome to the IAPD Living Legends video series program. My name is Ted Flickinger. I'm the Executive Director of the Illinois Association of Park Districts, and I have a wonderful opportunity today, June 9th, 1995, to interview Dr. Bruce Larson, who's with the Urbana Park District and considered a legend by park commissioners all over the state of Illinois and across the nation. Dr. Larson has served as commissioner since 1967. 28 years as a commissioner, and of those 28 years, 25 of them as president of his local park district board. He is known in the circles of commissioners throughout Illinois all these years, and has served previously on the IAPD Board of Directors from 1976 to 1979, and currently serves on the board and has since 1990. He's been a vice president on the board and recently elected president-elect in 1995 to the IAPD board, and of course will be president in 1996. Dr. Larson has contributed significantly to the IAPD throughout the years of his tenure as commissioner. He has been president-elect of our association, as I indicated, but also served on many different committees, and one that really stands out is he was the author of the major revisions that took place on the IAPD constitutional bylaws, which I think were changed at least 15 years ago, maybe it was 16 years ago, and so they withstood the test of time in being very successful bylaws for an association. He was also the founding, one of the founding members and first chair of IPARS, which is the Illinois Park Association Risk Management Services, and he has received the President's Award in 1986 from IAPD, and really the most coveted award, the Commissioner of the Year, the Alan A. Weisberg Commissioner of the Year Award in 1993. Also, he's been recognized by the Great Lakes Regional Council of the National Recreation and Park Association as the Outstanding Board Member of the Year in 1993. He's an outdoor recreation enthusiast. He has traveled all over the world to 33 different countries and 5 continents, I believe. He's a recipient of the Fulbright Award in 1965. He received his PhD from the University of Minnesota in biochemistry, and he's been a professor at the University of Illinois since 1951. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And retired from full-time duties at the university in 1990. So Dr. Larson, welcome to the Legends program. We're certainly proud that we have someone of your esteem and somebody with your background to be a part of our Legends program. So far we've identified 3 or 4 people and that have been involved in this program, and as the years go on, we don't know how many, but we know that it's a distinguished number of people, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
We want to start out first of all with the question of what motivated you to become a commissioner, and why are you still involved as being a commissioner?
Well, I think I've had almost a lifetime interest in parks, outdoor recreation and such. Growing up in the city of Minneapolis that has an outstanding park system, I learned early what a good system could be. And I think when the time became appropriate, while living in Urbana and seeing what the Urbana Park District was, I felt I could contribute to that system, and that was sort of the motivation. Why am I involved today? Well, I think the reason is it's been a lot of fun, and you can see things that have been done. There's a lot of hard work involved, but I think working in parks and recreation is an enjoyment, and I've literally enjoyed every minute of it.
Very good. Well, you know, obviously people, if they continue to do things, have to enjoy them, and we're very happy that that's the least we can do for people who are volunteering their time to serve on these park boards, because most of the public, they don't realize the time that it does take to be a volunteer, and the commitment that you need to make, and you've been doing that for these many years. What do you consider then as you've developed a philosophy, obviously, of what it takes to be a good commissioner? What can you share with us some of your concerns, some of your philosophy about being an excellent commissioner like you have been?
Well, I think standing very high on the list of attributes is you have to get educated on what you're working with in a situation. I always talk with new commissioners and such about you have to do your homework, and we're called upon to make major decisions relative to considerable amounts of money at times, and this has to be based on some sound premises and understanding. So I'd say get educated. But point number two is you have to get along with your fellow commissioners. And it's often been said that politics is the art of compromise. Well, being a commissioner is politics because you're not in the usual sense of the word, but you're dealing with people that have different viewpoints and come from different directions, and you're trying to put together something that you can all agree on. So I would say you've got to get educated, be willing to understand the other person's viewpoint, and use the art of compromise very wisely. Not in all cases, obviously, but in cases where it's necessary to ensure that the overall good gets done.
So it's not really partisan politics, but it's the politics of and public relations, and the politics of getting to know an individual, and getting to work together. But let me ask you this, now sometimes partisan politics comes into play when we're working in our legislative program. And I think we're kind of unique because in our park boards, obviously we have some people that are Republican Party and some of the Democratic Party, but you don't see much of that come up, do you? The partisan aspect of it?
No, as a matter of fact, I'm not sure I even know what party the rest of the commissioners
Is
on
that
our
right?
board
Oh,
belong to, because I really don't think it's a point that should be of interest to us. I think we have a meeting on common ground that is quite different than the political level, and we all have this desire to help and become educated and be able to do some good in the community. However, one of the things that I think you have to understand, and this I think is something that new commissioners often don't, and don't become knowledgeable soon enough, is the financial situation in the district, where the money comes from. We have commissioners that come in that might want some project or something to be done that really is beyond the scope of the park district. You have to learn in your park district, your organization, what's possible, what monies are available, and what is doable, what can be done. And so the becoming knowledgeable of financial matters, I think, is very important, and being able to judge on your own, not having to rely on somebody else's judgment for this.
Oh, that's an excellent point. Well, let me go back to that partisan politics issue. There's I know probably in your case, not knowing what your personal politics are and or any of your other board members, but I know that our commissioners support, whether they're even in the same party on that particular commission, support people, legislators, who are supportive of park and recreation issues, regardless of their party. I think Urbana, you can see both Republicans and Democrats that have been involved as legislators from your area, and you've been supportive of both of these individuals as long as their support's there for the park district.
That's correct, and we, I think, have excellent relationships with our legislators because we try to keep them informed, very much so, and they also have an understanding that I think we have good park districts, strong park districts, in both Champaign and Urbana, and in the county with the Forest Preserve District. And the legislature doesn't want to tamper too much with something that's working very well and people understand is working well. And so I think getting your house in order, so to speak, having a park district that is is well understood and appreciated by the public in general, is going to have an effect on the legislators that are serving those people and wanting to keep a high quality of park and recreation services.
Dr. Larson, the next question I had to ask you is, do you really believe that park districts serve communities better than city governments for the delivery of park and recreation services?
Well, I do, and I think this is one of the strong points of park districts in Illinois. It's a matter of closeness to the people. Park districts are down at what you might call the grassroots level, uh, both with the people that get involved with park districts and meetings of the governing boards, and the commissioners themselves are down at a level where they interact with the citizens in the community and understand it. I think this is a very strong point, because park districts in many places in our country get lost or more or less forgotten in the delivery of other city services. When money is short and there are salaries that need to be paid city officials and police and fire and such, the money usually goes there, and the park system gets shorted. Here in Illinois, with park districts that have their own levy of taxes, and money comes in, can put the money where it has been promised and where it needs to go to maintain better park and recreation systems. And I think this is a very strong point. As government has gotten bigger in this country, and people seem more diverted or divested from it, not part of it, park districts are not in that category. People feel a park district, at least in Illinois, is theirs.
Bruce, you've met a lot of professionals in your career, people in this field, and what do you consider the key attributes possessed by the top professionals in the park and recreation field?
Well, I think there are a lot of attributes that successful people have. Books have been written on this subject, but I think there's some very competent things that are possessed by all of them. One is they're competent. They know what they're doing. They have a educated background. They know what the position of their job and what they're trying to do is, and they're good at it. Another strong attribute is trying to do the best, trying to be at the top of the pack, not a mediocre, in this case park district or something, but one that is outstanding. In other words, they're working very hard to bring their organization up to the top. Another attribute that I think is very common is being able to look ahead, see what's coming, and be prepared for it when it comes. Nothing stands still. You don't want to delve too much in history, although that's what we're doing today when we're talking about living legends, but one wants to gain knowledge out of that with the idea that this is going to help in the future and where we're going. And so I think we have a philosophy amongst top professionals of trying to do the best job they can, get educated, looking ahead, and in general serving their organization with all of their efforts to do the best job possible.
Bruce, we'd like to ask and get your opinion about what do you see as the major problems confronting today's park district system, and how can we resolve those problems?
Well, when this question comes up, it's always easy to say, financial, we need more money. Certainly, there's never been any governmental body that wouldn't be an answer for, that more funding would allow more things to be done. I think, however, what one has to focus on in park districts is changing emphasis that is occurring over a period of time. And I think park districts are going to come more and more in play as units that really help to define what a community is. There have been a lot of books and articles written on this. What is a community? What is a neighborhood? And most of them were agreed that the school is the unit that by and large defined a neighborhood. It wasn't the local business strip, it wasn't something else, it was the school. You had to have safe streets so kids could walk to school. You had to have a good school so that your kids could take their place in society and such. And as busing came to America and neighborhoods got changed, at least with the kids in them, there has been somewhat, quite a bit, I think, in this country, lack of neighborhood identity. Some of that, and maybe more than we realize, has been picked up by the parks that were in the neighborhood. As a matter of fact, there are cities now that are looking at recreation centers that were in a city as really becoming the neighborhood focus of that part of the city, and around which the citizens can take some pride and help and get involved. I think what we're going to see in the future is this aspect, more neighborhood identity that goes with parks. I think we're going to find park districts getting involved with more, well, lack of a better term, human services, but that's a wide category. Park districts can address problems that are concerned with gangs and youth at risk. They can address problems concerned with the wellness of people, nutrition, other things. And surveys that have been taken are indicating a trend of people in a community to become more appreciative, more involved with what a park district can do. Look back a generation, most persons' concept of a park district was a pretty park of grass and trees and maybe a little recreation program. Look at everything that's going on today that has added to that, augmented, and then project into the future of what people are going to need and require. Certainly in the area that I was initially, my youth, very interested in, wilderness areas and environmental areas and such, we have fewer and fewer of those in our country today. They need protection, but people, to get that same kind of experience, have to, and with more people, have to look to places like park districts and forest preserve districts to get that kind of an experience where they can be alone, where they can interact with nature and such. And so when I talk about major problems, yes, funding is an easy answer, but I think the scope of park districts is enlarging all the time, and the problem is going to be to try to provide the funding and the understanding that goes with that. The words that I've used very strongly is that park districts are involved with quality of life. People are very concerned in this country today about quality of life. We are a governmental agency that very strongly is concerned with quality of life, not only in parks, but recreation services and other things. And I think people are coming more and more to understand this and be appreciative of this.
Okay. You want to take a little break, or
That was a
doing all right?
that was a long speech.
But and Bruce, we'd like to ask you the question: why should a commissioner become involved in the Illinois Association of Park Districts?
Well, I think there are many benefits that accrue to the person, but the reason you're doing it is to the park district you're involved with, and to the state as a whole. You've got to have an organization that has some concerted effort. Everybody moving in a different direction isn't going to accomplish a lot as compared to what when you get together behind some particular, legislative program and such that is needed in the state. I think the IAPD, which was formed in the 1920s, the time had come. There was a feeling at that time, I'm sure, that the part of legislators, that they wanted to be better informed of park problems, and there was a feeling on the part of certainly park commissioners that they wanted to get across to legislators what these common problems were, and working together certainly made that easier. I think the IAPD performs several functions. That's the sort of the political one I just mentioned, but it also provides very strongly this information dimension on what is a park district, what should a park commissioner be doing, what do park districts need to know in order to operate and such. And so a state organization becomes I think very much a necessity. Otherwise, you know, you throw the world to lawyers, let them run everything. I'm being a little facetious, but I think elected commissioners in a park district should do a lot of these things by themselves and understand it themselves in order to make the system really work.
The next question we'd like to ask Dr. Larson is, what do you consider your major contributions to the field of Parks and Recreation or to park districts, and how would you like to be remembered as a park district commissioner?
Well, this is a little hard to answer if one is thinking of a specific project or a specific thing that was done. I think my major contribution in Urbana has been to have a park board that has worked together in harmony and has set base rules, you might say, for getting along with each other that have stood the test of time. We have done, I think, very well in Urbana. We've never gotten into any major fights, and you don't know whether that's an accomplishment or not unless you actually went through the situation where you did have hard feelings amongst the board. Having been the chairman of the board for 25 years, I've had some experience in running meetings and keeping people happy and providing the proper climate for the park board and the park district in which to work. Now, the proper climate has to come from all the board members, but how the board interacts is very much reflected, I feel, in how the park district functions, because they feel either they've got a board that's backing them and philosophically in tune with what they're doing, or the opposite, that matters that came through on a squeaking vote or something like this. I think people would wonder, some of the staff, it makes for problems and makes for not harmonious staff action within the district. So I would consider my major contribution coming to that is providing the climate in which the park district has been able to develop and grow.
And I would just add one thing, that the vision that Dr. Larson has had for the last 25 years, I think you're a little modest. You're not taking enough credit for Crystal Lake and for the outstanding facilities that you have, and of course hiring an excellent director, and the services that all of you have given to the community has been to a point where the Urbana Park District is recognized across the state of Illinois and the nation as one of the finest.
Well, you make a good point there, and I should say that hammer the fact that who you get for a director is so important, and we've been very fortunate to, might say lucky, but to be able to get a good director and to be able to work with that person is so fundamental to a good district. The staff do count, and the director sits at the top of the staff, certainly.
It's that winning team.
That's right.
That we like to talk about.
That's right.
The next question we have for Dr. Larson is, what is your vision for the future of park districts in Illinois?
Well, I think that functions of park districts are going to continue to evolve as they have. as we moved away in the last generation from the grass and trees concept of a park and a baseball field maybe, to other things that park districts can do that satisfy human needs and wants. The, the neighborhood concept has been mentioned. The services that people need for healthful and happy living, to provide a quality of life that is important. We have seen in this country quality of life erode in so many ways, so many directions, and park districts, I think, can be in the business are in the business of certainly improving quality. I think we'll see more in the way of working with people, and you may call them services, but I think, for example, the gain problem is probably one that comes to mind, that I think park districts are going to have to be involved with, and so I think we're going to see more and more working on the human level with people. Now, we're still going to have parks, we're still going to have recreational facilities, we're still going to have other things, and but I think we'll have a change. Another interesting thing that came out of the survey that I mentioned before was that people believe park districts should provide latchkey programs for kids. We've seen in the last 20 years almost the entire turnover. It used to be only men who went to work. Now it's both men and women are going to work and have jobs. This has had quite an effect on volunteers that help in the park district, who they are and how much time they have and such. But I would suspect 20 years ago, if you asked people in a survey, should we support a latchkey program to take care of kids after school before their mothers come home, it'd probably be very few people, well, probably understand what it was, or is, but would think park districts should be involved. Now, there's overwhelming support for that sort of a program as another type of recreational program, in this case tuned to specific time and specific situation with parents. But at any rate, I think when one's talking about the vision of park districts, I think we'll find changes, social changes coming, but overall I think park districts are going to become stronger and become more important and be appreciated as more important in the total picture of quality life for the people going on.
Well, just let me say on behalf of the IAPD board and staff and this Legend series, we have definitely appreciated your perspective on the future of park districts and our current situation, and especially the profound knowledge that you have on the park and recreation field and the impact that you've had for all of us in making it a better place in which to live and rear our children. And the quality of life in our communities is a lot better because of commissioners like you, and thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's been a joy to be here.